Good afternoon, board members, staff, members of the audience. Let the record show that today is December the 15th. The time is 7 p.m. and we will now call the Amherst County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Ms. Moore?
Yeah, I would like to amend the agenda to remove item 14, closed session, and we move that to the January meeting.
The motion on the floor by Ms. Moore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved, Minister.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The agenda is now approved. And we will move on to invocation and pledge of allegiance. Please remove your hats. Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, please bless this group that is gathered to protect and promote the best interests of Amherst County. Bless this board with your wisdom, courage, strength, and compassion. Lord, please bless the citizens that came here tonight to share their views because they care about Amherst County and its citizens. Lord, please keep your hand on all of our public safety workers, our teachers, our sheriff and deputies, and all of our citizens that put their life on the line to protect those in our community. Please bless our staff that serve the people of this county with unwavering loyalty and support. Dear Father, we ask that you protect and keep from harm's way our military and the military families. Lord, as we come into the season of your birth, we ask that anger be replaced with joy, that distrust be replaced with trust, that tears be replaced with laughter, that fractures be replaced with healing, and that most of all, we love others as you have loved us. Lord, thank you for the opportunity that I have had to serve on this board and for these colleagues who serve for no other purpose than to make Amherst County a better place every single day. Lord, let us remember to count our blessings. For us here tonight, those blessings are many. May everything that we do be done in a way that is pleasing to you. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to now move on to citizen comments. And I'm going to read a little bit here, rules of engagement, and then I'll lay the ground rules here. And then I'll ask Mr. Rogers if he has anything else to add as far as how we will orderly bring people in. So as we begin the citizens comment, I want to thank all of you all for being here. This is a reminder that the First Amendment Sanctuary City is not on the agenda, nor will it be amended to the agenda tonight. It is our plan to have further discussion on this at our next meeting, which will be January the 5th, which will be just prior to the start of our legislative session in Richmond. This is an issue that requires thoughtful deliberation, and that can occur at the last meeting a few days before Christmas. I also want to lay out the ground rules in order for everyone to have an opportunity to speak, and for the supervisors and the audience to be able to hear all of you who do choose to speak. Comment will be limited to 3 minutes. If you go past that, you will hear a buzzer, and then you will have 15 seconds to close. This will be strictly adhered to. Regardless of whether you are a friend, ally, neighbor, or colleague, everyone will be treated the same. I ask that you respect this so that everyone can have their time. Mr. Rogers, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Is that a no?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Now I'm going to call the people who have signed up. All right, if there's anyone here who still wishes to speak and didn't know that they had to sign up, you'll still have your chance. Just as a matter of order, there's also a second citizen's comment at the end of this meeting. If you agree with someone, and there's a lot of people that want to speak, you can just come here and just say, I agree with that person as well. Okay? Everybody ready? All right, the first person who signed up is James Weeks. And as you come up, this microphone's there, it's already on. You just need to give us your name and your address.
Name is James Weeks, 889 Dixie Airport Road. I think I'm with Hugh. So I came in here wanting to talk about the First Amendment resolution, and I was going to make a motion to change the agenda, and you're telling me that we're not going to discuss that at all today. Did I get that correctly?
We'll start with, and we're not going to go back and forth. A citizen cannot amend the agenda. That has to be done by a board member. But go ahead. You can certainly ask us to take it up at the next meeting, which we plan to do.
Well, we asked you to take it up at this meeting. Okay. Well, I'm going to make my case for it anyway. Okay. So I can tell you just today, my wife came home in tears, not because she had to wear a mask, but because of the confrontation that the mandates have caused at the front door to Walmart. I'm sure it's happening in other businesses, and those confrontations are only going to get worse. The mandate from our governor applies to kids down to 5. My daughter can't play outside for 5 minutes without getting dirt on her pants. I don't think she's going to keep a seal over the top of her mask as she's walking through the restaurants or through the grocery store with my wife. I don't see what the point of the mask is. It doesn't serve a purpose to put it on an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old. It doesn't serve a purpose. The whole purpose of it is subjugation. It's to make sure that all the people have a sign on their face saying that they're doing what they're told. It is abhorrent. You guys made an oath that you'd uphold the Constitution. We have rights according to the Constitution. The First Amendment resolution is you simply affirming what you've already made an oath to uphold. It doesn't make sense that there would be so much pushback against it. It is unfortunate that we're in this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weeks. Next, we have Ms. Gloria Witt. Ms. Witt, please state your address, please.
Yes, my name is Gloria Witt. I'm the president of the NAACP of Amherst County. My address is 123 Aaron Drive, Madison Heights, Virginia. And I'm here today to oppose any First Amendment resolution, either symbolic or otherwise, denouncing the governor's COVID mandates around social distancing to minimize health impacts due to this pandemic. As African Americans, people of color, and really low-income households, there's been a disproportionate impact during this health crisis stemming from a lack of access to health care. So they are severely impacted. COVID-19 is a health issue. It is not a political issue. For the board to even consider any type of resolution feeds into this myth that a universal COVID-19 response is arbitrary. Science and facts should outweigh emotions or political decision-making. There's 300,000 dead Americans. More than 1,500 of Amherst County citizens have either had COVID or is suffering with it right now. Luckily, only 7 are dead. I want the board to remember 3 things. The idea that the governor's mandates are having a negative impact on business is true. That's why we have federal, state, and local officials have stepped up to help out monetarily. The fact is, social distancing is all we have. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and stand 6 feet apart. It's not asking you to give up your firstborn. The idea that the mandate equates to tyranny or political overreach or an impact on civil liberties is just a fabrication. If you're looking for an example of what privilege looks like, this is what it is. The idea that any one individual's rights is more or less than another is, in public spaces, is unreasonable. That's what privilege looks like. Your rights are more than my rights. I prefer a face mask. It's all we have. Finally, when it comes to civil liberties, especially the right to assemble, I'm reminded of the 2017 Charlottesville protest incident. You remember, you're the ninth to right, one person dead, a dozen others hurt. When the NAACP approached this board for a resolution against discrimination and racism and support of civil rights, it was tabled. I'm asking, do nothing. This is a civil rights issue. It's not a civil liberties issue. I have a right to be healthy and safe, and all of us wear a mask. Do nothing.
Next, we've got Mr. Ben Summers. Name and address, please, Mr. Summers.
My name is Ben Summers. I am representing a business actually from 131 Cornell Drive. That business was the large business of the year in Amherst County 2 years ago. And I am in favor of considering a First Amendment constitutional protection resolution. And the reason for that is because as a business manager, my parents own the business. I see what's happening to other businesses around the area. They're actually able to somewhat control their employees because they pay them. But when someone comes into their business and feels that this is an unconstitutional thing, which I personally believe that wearing a mask is unconstitutional. Like, it's my body, my choice. I actually have an inhaler, a rescue inhaler, because I have asthma. I legitimately have asthma, so it's a difficult thing. But what I see happening in businesses is that they're being forced to choose between making payroll, being able to survive as a business, and basically having to force people to wear masks. So they're having fines. They're having people, basically a restaurant will either fined or lose their business or or go to jail because a customer doesn't wear a mask, and that's just not right. I'm also concerned about the churches that are being held to a different standard than a lot of the other, like Walmart can have 760 people, but a church at one point in time was held to 25 people. It's just, what I see is a totally different set of standards for a big business and a small business, and a church and a business, and it just isn't right. And a lot of those things just need to be addressed. And so I don't know exactly when you guys are thinking about that, when y'all are thinking about that, please consider trying to be equal with everyone. The lady who just spoke, my rights aren't any different than anyone else's, and I'm really thankful for that in America. So I'll give the rest of my time. But thank you all for everything you do.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Next, we have Teresa Ray. Let's give you your address, Ms. Ray.
Thank you. My name is Teresa Ray. My address is 253 Sprouse Drive. I've been a resident of Amherst all my life, and I never thought that we would get to this, but here we are in December, about 11 months after we first heard of this virus. According to the CDC, the survival rate is 99.4%. Since the mandates, the case numbers have soared. If masks work, shouldn't these case numbers decline? There is no scientific data to back up the claim that masks work. There is even a disclaimer on the N95 masks that state that masks were not effective in stopping viruses. On 12/9, according to the Virginia Department of Health, this time last year without COVID, 77% of the hospital beds were full. This year with the virus, 68% of the hospital beds are full. Think about that fact for a moment. This time last year, we had 11% more patients in the hospital without COVID. The public has been programmed to view new cases as death sentences. Everyone has made sacrifices to do the right thing, to keep ourselves healthy and our loved ones safe. We heard, stay home for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Only sick need to wear a mask. The 2 weeks have now turned into 9 months, and the mandates are becoming even more restrictive, which caused further damage to small businesses and the citizens of Amherst County. And there appears to be no end in sight. Many Thanksgivings were ruined or not held at all. Now we're told that we can't have more than 10 people gather in our own homes, and Christmas is next Friday. Per the Amherst County Board of Supervisors Rules of Procedure, Section 3-2, amending the agenda. As a general matter, the agenda shall not be amended after it has been released to the public. The board may, by majority vote, to agree to amend the agenda by adding, removing, or reorganizing items. This rule allows a majority of the board to vote to amend the resolution. Please take this opportunity to add the 1A resolution to the agenda this evening and vote to pass it. Also, per the Amherst County Board of Supervisors Code of Ethics, it states, Item 2, respect and uphold the Constitution of the United States and never act in a way that will restrict individual liberties. Board members should operate from a belief that the Constitution is a roadmap for every decision that the board makes. 1A is not a political or about race. It is our constitutional right to assemble, especially in our own homes. Please consider adding and voting for this tonight. Thank you.
Next, we have Rosemary Urban. Ms. Urban, please give us your address.
Good evening. You all may remember me the last time I was here. I was petitioning for the reuse shed at the Peddler Convenience Center, so it's good to see everyone hiding. I am opposed to the First Amendment sanctuary resolution, and I'll tell you why. Nationally, we've had over 390,000 deaths. This is like 390,000 deaths. Imagine everyone in Lynchburg, Campbell, Bedford, Appomattox, Amherst, Rockbridge, and Nelson dead. Everyone. That's how many people that is, and that's how many people have died of COVID. The daily infection rate is topping 80,000 people. In Virginia, we have 288,000 reported cases. Total hospitalizations, 16,014. Virginia has had 4,470 dead. Daily cases are over 4,000 people. Before November, the highest number was 2015. More than 20% of people affected by COVID are between the ages of 20 and 29 years old. This is not just affecting people my age, it's also affecting young people, and now there's information about children seeing Santa without masks, and they're becoming infected. Amherst County has a total of 1,065 as of December the 12th. That may have gone up. Campbell County, that did did pass this resolution, has almost 500 cases more as of this day than Amherst County. Vaccines could take months to reach us. It's in the works, and it's a good thing. It's good news. However, we're a small rural county, and we're not going to be first on the list. It's going to go to the first responders and others before it comes to us. I want you all to know that if a loved one is in the hospital, you cannot see them. You cannot touch them. You cannot go in to be with them. Even if they're dying, you cannot go into that room because of COVID. This is a horrible, horrible thing for families. I think with children, they do allow one parent in the room, but if you are married to someone, you cannot go in the room with them. This is an insidious disease, and we need to do everything in this county to do what we can to prevent it from spreading. This is life and liberty to me. It's not about my husband being in a hospital room and not being able to go in and comfort him. Everyone has a duty to act responsibly to limit the spread of this infection. Safety policies are so simple. Simply wear a mask, and we're worried about businesses. I just got a feed the other day. Someone went into Dollar General and without a mask, and Dollar General, the clerk behind the counter in Dollar General said they could not purchase things because they did not have a mask on. There were over 52 positive responses to that. People said, finally, it's happening. We need this to happen. We are tired of people not abiding by the mask mandate. We all are trying to make things better for everyone, not just for ourselves. All right, so that's about it for me. I hope that you would consider this carefully and leave the resolution where it is. It's going to change.
Thank you, Ms. Irvin.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Next, we have, I can't read this last name, Eric Orion.
Orasi. Orasi, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. Give us your address, please.
My name is Eric Orasi. I live at 244 Todd Lane. I've been a resident of Amherst for approximately 20 years. I'd like to speak on the A1 resolution. I heard a lot of good arguments this evening, but I also have common sense. The numbers of death toll haven't changed on a year-to-date basis. We see a lot of numbers. They're flooding us with data, a lot of statistics, but the overall death toll hasn't increased this year from last year. Why? Because more people are dying from COVID than cancer, or what's happening. The numbers are still numbers, right? The governor has slammed out these mandates since March. He started 9 months ago, abusing his power to control us, the citizens. Now you say that masks are good, masks are great. Well, fine, wear a mask. If you're scared to go to Walmart, call up and have it delivered to your car. You have those options. Why should I have to wear a mask because you're scared? COVID's gone through my family. I've had 4 family members over Thanksgiving. We didn't have a Thanksgiving dinner, by the way. And Christmas is right around the corner. I have more than 10 siblings, and we're all going to be together, whether this mandate's in place or not. Because I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not going to be a sheep. If you're scared, call, order your stuff, and have it delivered, or go curbside pickup. You don't have to expose yourself to the public. If you want to distance yourself out of the county. There's more than enough land here. You know, there's plenty of time for legislation to get together. It's been 10 months. And we've seen a special session to say, hey, look, these are the numbers and this is what we're going to do. We're not represented. No, he's just shouting out, hey, you're going to wear masks. Oh, by the way, you can't drink after 10 o'clock. Okay, but you can stay in the establishment until it closes. How does that reduce your risk? How does that reduce your risk? It doesn't. It's all about his power. He just wants to shout out these mandates. Driving after midnight. My daughter, when she was young, the only way I could get her to sleep was to put her in the car and drive down the road. Now, what if a parent has to do that? And they're going to be charged? Are they going to be charged for driving their baby down the road to go to sleep after midnight? Exactly. It's just this power trip is on. We have legislators, elected officials like yourselves that represent us. They haven't even had an opportunity to speak on this issue. They haven't had an opportunity to speak. It's just been the governor and his small clique saying, this is what we're going to do. And you know what? All his mandates haven't changed the numbers. What are they doing? They're going up.
Thank you, Mr. Orr.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Next is Mr. John Harper. Mr. John Harper. Give us your address, please.
My name's John Harper, 325 Spring Garden Road. Go there, pretty sure. I've lived in Amherst County for almost 48 years. My dad was a member of this board many years ago. Richard Harper, I know some of you probably know him. But I agree, there's a public health crisis going on. That's undeniable, in my mind. I know I disagree with some people. There's a public health crisis, and I don't like wearing a mask, but it's like clothes. There's a lot of people that don't wear clothes, that's just not people clothes. I won't even fight that. But the First Amendment of the Constitution says I have the right to assemble. And that's plain and simple to me is what that part of it. I have the right to assemble. That is in the Constitution. And that right is being taken away. I cannot have a Christmas dinner at my house legally with over 10 people. It's my house. If I invite this group of people, the board, and 4 other people in my house, I'm breaking the law. That's in the Constitution. I want all you to, any of the rest of the stuff. But that's the constitutional right. And I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't taken up in tonight's meeting. And while I have your attention, I do want to say how much I appreciate your consideration on the Second Amendment resolution. And that's really all I have to say. I can't argue the other points, but it's a constitutional issue. I'm allowed to gather. So that's in the Constitution. And I think y'all should support that 100% instead of the rest of the scripture.
Next, we've got Dawn Justice. Give us your address, Ms. Justice.
My name is Dawn Justice. We reside at 125 Garland Avenue in Amherst. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address you in person. It is a true privilege. We have recently moved here from the Northwest, where, much like your governor, restrictions were put in place right away. Unfortunately, the penalties were great right away. And so I could not shop for clothing at Goodwill with my children. For 10 months, I had to drive to Boise, Idaho to find clothing for them. I've always shopped at Goodwill because it is a good resource. My children started to suffer from anxiety. We're homeschooled. You would think this would make a big difference for us. But we were used to gathering with people of other like-minded. We went to church. We couldn't go to church anymore. Our church was closed for 10 months. My 8-year-old started pulling out his hair. And I said, what's wrong with you? Pulling out my hair. It takes away the bad trips. My kids could go into Portland and know we were in Portland from the drug abuse on the side of the road, and that it wasn't safe because people had signs saying that they were racist, that they were doing violence. I had to explain to them what that meant. I had to research what that meant. I wasn't able to shop for food, not because they were afraid I would give someone COVID, but because they were afraid of governor fines. Our small grocery store in Eastern Oregon, where my father went to get away from COVID, they had 800 people in their town. They had one grocery store for 50 miles around. They were ranchers, they were poor, they were barely surviving. Their grocery store was attempting to follow the guidelines, but there were individuals who could not follow for health reasons or freedom of conscience reasons. Someone called them in. They were fined $10,000 for serving people food. They were using gloves. They weren't sick, but they were serving people food. We were discussing what happens if you get COVID and you go into the hospital. You can't see people. That's already happening to everyone who has to go into a medical facility right now. If their child needs physical therapy, they have to go in, and they can't go in with their child if they're over 18, I should say. So my child needs assistance, but I couldn't go in. Women who are pregnant and delivering don't get to have a doula and their husband. They have to choose between them. Their kids don't get to see their children, even though they live in the same household. So my concern is that we are all individuals. Every person in this room is trying to do their best, not just to protect their loved ones, but to protect their community. But what that looks like is very different in individuals. So I urge you to consider First Amendment protections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Justice. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak who didn't sign up? Lady here, and then gentlemen, you can hear next. Please give us your name. Please give us your name and your address, please.
I'm Lynn Cable. I live at 156 Patrick Henry Highway in Amherst. I just would like to say that I do support the governor's position. I do support what he says. I run Amherst League Arts Response, which is an arts and humanities organization. We've had to change a lot of things about what we do in trying to protect the community. We've been doing a lot of shows virtually. We've also been doing a lot of shows out on the lawn in the fall in front of second stage. We've had to keep people separate. We've asked them to wear masks. We're trying to protect the community. We have resigned from some community organizations that we really believe in because the people are sitting too close together. They are not wearing masks. They are serving food off of a buffet that is not, it's not safe food. It's just food people brought from their house. They're put on the table. They're going down the table. Okay, if you all would, some of you all would say that you're being free by doing that. But I worry that you're killing your neighbors. And I don't think that's what a lot of you would like. At one point, about 2 weeks ago, I had 7 friends in Amherst who had COVID. And I'm talking about Amherst County, but they were people from the church, and they were people that I worked with in the museum, volunteers, people that I worked with in the women's club. I mean, yeah, they're people that I know from various parts of my life in Amherst County. This is not made up. It is serious. We don't want to hurt each other. And it seems to me that we should try to do everything that we can to protect ourselves and to protect other people in the community. I'm very happy that our governor is in position. And if you look at the statistics of what's happening in Virginia versus what's happening in North Carolina, you will see that we are doing a lot better, and he's been guiding us correctly, and I hope he will continue to guide us correctly through the worst part of this pandemic, which, as I understand it, is supposed to be through December, January, and February. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cable. Sir, please give us your name and address.
My name's Paul Roughton, 132 Chilton Lane, Madison Heights. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I've just heard some stuff. Thank y'all for hearing it. I know y'all said you weren't. Really hoping y'all will change your minds. Maybe make an emergency session, because this is obviously very important. The 19th might be a little too far out. As far as...
Mr. Roughton, would you please stay close to the mic so the YouTubers can hear you?
So, as far as whether or not this COVID and this 1A is political or not, well, here's a picture of our Governor Northam not wearing a mask, not social distancing. Just, we all saw that on the news not too long ago, as well as all these other Democrats out in California, out to dinner, not wearing a mask, you know, acting like everything's great, as long as you're doing what you're told. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Small businesses getting affected by the regulations and whatnot, but go down to Sheets, walk up to those 2 great big touch screen Virginia State Lottery machines. That's okay. Small business, the guy who serves the ice cream there, local business getting hurt. He hasn't been open since March. So it is very political, and it is very important. And I appreciate y'all listening to us today. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak? Yes, sir. Please give us your name and address.
Mike Maggio, 577 Wagon Trail Road in Monroe. I hear all your concerns, but how many people in here have had COVID? Was that a cakewalk for you?
It was no worse than the flu. Asymptomatic for me, sir.
All right, well, I wasn't. And I'm okay. You know, 3 weeks, we're good. But anything we can do to push this back. Everybody's got a choice. I wear my mask to protect you.
But sir, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, I do have a choice. I would want this again. No part of it. I know I've lost family members. I got a buddy's wife. She died on the table, brought her back. So some of us are very lucky. I was lucky, but there's extreme cases, of course. But anything we can do, just put a lid on this. I wouldn't want to be the governor. He's got a tough job. He's got to make some tough calls. But anything we can do to support everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will now close citizen comments. I will make.
Madam Chair, I do have some emails.
Oh, yeah, you've got some things you need to read, Mr. Rogers. Okay.
So I have 7 emails here from various citizens that I'll go through. The first one is from Susan Leonard, P.O. Box 356 in Amherst. She says, hygiene law, like martial law, supersedes rights in a crisis. Samuel Hopkins Adams, 1913. More simply stated, mandates to protect the health of the community supersedes the individual's right to display his or her behavior as desired. This was true 100 years ago. Why is it not true today? When I was growing up, I was taught that my rights stopped where someone else's began. What has happened to the vocabulary used to describe, quote, for the common good? Has it become buried under the First and Second Amendment frenzy? Do you not realize that individuals from more restricted areas will flock to areas with less restriction, bringing their contagion with them? Let us for once consider a proposal to benefit the common good rather than our self-centered, selfish desires. Thank you for listening to me. This next email is from Barbara Pryor at 2464 Puppy Creek Road in Amherst. First Amendment sanctuary resolution is an attempt by a few to take away the seriousness of COVID-19, to sow dissension and disinformation in our community. Who is behind this resolution and why? We know the numbers: 300,000 dead, 7 in Amherst County, 3,000 daily deaths, and climbing with projections of 410,000 by January 1, 2021. This resolution is an effort to block, disapprove of Governor Northam's executive orders regarding COVID-19. Orders put in place as meaningful efforts to slow the spread of COVID-19 until an effective vaccine can be made available and given to all who want it. Supporters of this resolution say that Governor Northam's actions are tyranny and treason and unconstitutional and violate First Amendment rights. They do not. Northam's actions are given to a governor by the Virginia Constitution and the Virginia Code. Constitution of Virginia, Article 5, Section 7, gives governor authority to see laws are faithfully executed. Code of Virginia, Section 44-146.17 says, the governor shall be director of emergency management. Such action from time to time as is necessary for the adequate promotion and coordination of state and local emergency services activities relating to the safety and welfare of the Commonwealth in time of disasters. Authority vested in the state health commissioner in section 32.1-13, 32.1-20, and 35.1-10. Under these 3 codes, the board may make separate orders and regulations to meet any emergency.
for the purpose of suppressing nuisances dangerous to the public health and communicable, contagious, and infectious diseases. The Commissioner shall be vested with authority to respond when board is not in session. The Commissioner may take whatever action he deems necessary to control the spread of preventable diseases as set forth in Title 32.1, including but not limited to the exclusion of employees, the medical examination of any employee, the immediate closing of a hotel, restaurant, summer camp, or campground, and the taking of samples for testing. And finally, the Commonwealth of Virginia is controlled by the Dillon Rule, and therefore the Amherst Board of Supervisors has no authority to approve this resolution. She quotes the legal principle that local governments have limited authority and can pass ordinances only in areas where the General Assembly has given clear authority. You may face a crowd that may be intimidating and vocal supporting this resolution. There are many not willing to risk our health or the health of others to attend the board meeting. Think clearly before you vote, because it will be there for all to see. You show who you are when you stand up for what is right, even if it is uncomfortable. Wear a mask, save a life. Respectfully, Barbara Pryor. This next one is from Shannon Augustine. 138 Garland Avenue in the town of Amherst. To whomever is brave enough to fight for our safety and well-being. I'm in agreement with Governor Northam's recent acts on the virus. I believe in the science behind his decision and the fact that as a community, it is our responsibility to do our best to protect our neighbors and keep each other safe in our joint fight against COVID-19. I do not believe the protective measures recommended by many world leaders, including Northam, are in any way a threat to our First Amendment rights. I feel it is reckless and life-threatening to ignore the severity of this global pandemic and the widely supported preventative measures put in place at this point in time. If you are confused about the pandemic, how it is spread, what the scientifically supported measures for prevention are, both nationally and globally, or have not seen or understood the extreme number of cases and deaths enabled by the poor mishandling of this situation, feel free to check out the links above. I will not be at the meeting tonight because as I previously mentioned, it is reckless and irresponsible to host and attend such a large in-person gathering at this time. However, if you have further questions regarding the information above, please feel free to email me. This next email is from Suzanne Chambers of 2136 High Peak Road in Monroe. I wear a mask because I care about my community. I'm concerned for all first responders, medical workers, at-risk persons, and essential workers. I feel sorry for our grocery store employees when I see them having to deal with the maskless. I appreciate the veterinarian techs who come to my car to take my animals in for appointments, and am stunned by those who don't wear a mask and make the tech lean into the car to retrieve their fur baby. Failing to do whatever it takes to protect others is the ultimate disrespect. The fact that this hearing is even taking place is stunning. This one is from Janice Augustine and Dr. Duncan Augustine, 228 Rivers Edge Lane, Amherst. My husband and I both think it is very important to follow the recommendations of our governor, Dr. Northam, a physician and a man of science. A close friend of ours, who is also a physician in Richmond at VCU, speaks regularly with doctors in other states. He attributes our governor's decisions for keeping our state safer than most. Amherst has spent quite a bit of time and money working on a long-term plan to attract others to our community. We have adopted initiatives like bike lanes and more parks, etc., to show that Amherst is a progressive community, a great place in which to live and work. Amherst is working hard to attract others and to retain our young adults. Passing this resolution sends the wrong message and works against our goal. Please help to keep our citizens safe. Let others know we care about protecting the health of our community. Since we are unable to attend tonight's meeting, we would greatly appreciate it if you could read our message during the meeting. This message is from Ultra Reed, Whit Reed. I'm in agreement with Governor Northam's recent mandates regarding, and I don't have an address. I'm in agreement with Governor Northam's recent mandates regarding COVID-19. Research supports that we can protect each other from the spread of this virus. Thank you. This message is from John Ingram of 2136 High Peak Road. Can you imagine thinking it's okay not to wear a mask, risking the lives of others? This is my favorite logic. Your cloth mask is not as effective as an approved N95, insinuating why bother? With that logic, why carry a handgun when it's no match for a 12 gauge? Or perhaps one should stop having a morning walk because it's not as good as an exercise as jogging. Why take that statin when it doesn't completely cure cardiovascular problems? If you have no capacity for protecting a fellow human being, don't wear a mask that way. That way, perhaps you will kill them or their loved ones. And then you can proudly proclaim, I am free. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Ma'am, I've got a question for the board. How do we get in on those emails? Like, where do we send those emails to? How does he select those emails?
The post on the county's Facebook page, meetings and announcements and items for this meeting, and our public information officer, Joy Niehaus, asks that, and she has her email address there on the Facebook page, that you send emails to her, and then they end up like this.
Okay, because I can promise you next time you have emails, they'll be from both sides. Because I'm going to make sure that people write emails to you representing the other side too. I don't understand how the emails sidestep the time.
The emails did not extend 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
There's at least one that did.
I'm going to make a closing comment now, and then I'll open it up to the other board members, and they can make comments if they choose. It's important to remember that this will be on the next agenda. I think somebody gave a date of the 15th. The next meeting is actually January the 5th.
It's the 19th.
The 19th, we're not going to do the first meeting? Huh?
It's scheduled for the 19th, an evening meeting, so
Okay.
more people can come.
19th. And I just want to say that we all know what the First Amendment does. It provides that Congress make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. Like many philosophical issues, the issue before us tonight has several sides. You can support the First Amendment and still believe that people should wear masks and practice social distancing. You can believe that government does not have the right to shut down businesses and still believe that COVID-19 is real. You can believe that business owners want their businesses and employees to survive and will come up with creative and safe ways to do that without government interference, and still believe common sense measures should be in place. You can believe that mask and business shutdowns are an infringement on our liberties and still want to protect your neighbors and loved ones by respecting their liberties and their decisions. And folks, that's why democracy is messy, but that's why it works. I truly believe that none of us here want our actions to be responsible for harming someone else. I also believe that the people here are passionate about what the First Amendment means to them. As I said earlier, we will not take any action tonight. We will have this on the next agenda. You've been given the date. It's my personal opinion, this is me speaking, not my board members, that we need to express to our legislators to do what is needed and what they have abrogated. And that's restrict the governor's ability to govern by executive order to a certain amount of time and extensions granted by the General Assembly and only in times of emergency. Thanks to all of you who came out here tonight, and I'm going to be quiet and ask board members if they've got anything they'd like to add.
Yeah, I would like to thank everyone for coming out this evening, whether you're which side you're on. You know, I agree. I don't like the mandates. I was in quarantine for 10 days because my son had it. He's a nurse at Lynchburg Jail. To me, it's not a COVID issue. It is a issue about what the board of supervisors with Amherst County can and cannot do. I don't believe any aspect of the local government here in Amherst County is going to be enforcing these mandates. It would come down to our constitutional officers, the elected sheriff, the Commonwealth Attorney, the Health Department. So to me, I fully support what the chair said. I cannot infer to you that it's okay for you to go out and not follow the mandate, because that's not our authority. Okay? If you choose to do so, don't do it. If you choose to go out here and go 75 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone, that's your choice, right? EW, the sheriff, and his department will choose whether or not to enforce that. I do support sending strong message to the General Assembly that they should rein in some of the governor's authority on these mandates. They should be reviewing them after a certain amount of time. I strongly believe that, because vesting too much authority in one person for 9-10 months now, that's a little much. That being said, that is a separate process, but I fully support doing that. But inferring that you can go out and not follow the mandates, I can't tell you to do that, because I don't believe it's in the board's authority to do so.
I'll just say that I'll echo what you two said tonight. I think Mr. Tucker put it in better than I could in the words just said. I mean, I don't think anybody likes this, having to do things that we're having to do, but I'm kind of like Mr. Martin. We don't have the authority. The constitutionals would be the ones who would decide whether or not to look at these and see if they're violations or not. We have no authority, but I do agree with Mr. Martin. I think something needs to be done at the General Assembly level to limit the executive powers of the governor.
Ms. Moore?
Yeah, I will echo Ms. Martin saying thank you for coming out. It's exciting when citizens are passionate about things that are happening in Amherst County, so thank you for coming out. And then I also support sending a message to the General Assembly, and as we work on that and craft it, I think that we're going to have something good in January for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank y'all again. Whether people agree or don't agree, the idea that you all took the time out of your schedule, came out here and did this, and my hat is off to you. I can't thank you enough. I hear a lot of people complain, but they don't want to get out of the house and come and actually show up, so thank you. All right, now we will get back to our regularly scheduled agenda. Next, we've got a public hearing. Ms. Bryant, 2020-478, Seoul America Energy.
Thank you. Somebody left the phone yakking up here. Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, this is a request by Seoul America LLC for a special exception request in the A1 Agricultural District. The purpose of this special exception is to allow for a utility scale solar generation facility of 5 megawatts of size. This project is located 3 miles southeast of the town of Amherst, on 125 acres of land that's comprised of 2 parcels that are both zoned A1. The rural site is currently a pasture surrounded by woods and a wetland with primarily agricultural, forest, and single-family residential use. Approximately 50 acres of land has been set aside for this site, 25 of which will have solar panels occupied on it. And the total acreage of both parcels is 125 acres. The remaining unused site areas consist of woods, pastures, stream, or wetlands area, and areas of unusable topography and setback and vegetative buffer areas. I'm going to walk you through the ordinance that you recently passed and some of the provisions that staff has reviewed and worked with the applicant. The applicant's here tonight, Mr. Peters. He's going to provide you a presentation that gives you some more detail on the site. What's in front of you is the site plan that's on your screen. This southern part of the site is the areas of solar panels here. There are some wetlands that are just north of that area. However, the site access goes around those wetlands, and the wetlands should not be impacted by this site. As from a staff perspective, as we're reviewing this site, we looked at historic resources, determined if there were historic things that were impacted. It came back with no historic resources impacted on the site. You know, one of the things that we also put in this ordinance was to look at and analyze wildlife and make sure there was passages to get through. And although there is a 6-foot fence that wraps around the site, there are no impediments north, south, east, or west other than that fenced-in area for the panels. So we don't believe that there's any wildlife sites where we need to allow more passage than what's already allowed. We also require pollinator plants to be part of this review, and the applicants that after they disturb the land and put it back and put solar panels in will be required to plant pollinators in this area. It will actually be an improvement in terms of for pollination than what was there, because right now there aren't pollinators identified on the site. There's also a glint and glare study that is part of the review. The applicant has some images that we'll go over tonight that will address that, and I think will be important for your consideration. The solar panels are required to be anti-glare and have an anti-reflective coating on them. What we understand as staff is that this is similar to a newly paved parking lot. The amount of glare that comes off is very, very minimal. You'll get some more images on that. You may require that part of the ordinance require a 150-foot setback. So when you look at the site plan, you can see identified on this site plan, 150-foot setback from all property lines. As I mentioned earlier, there's an enclosed security fencing that's not less than 6 feet in height. And there is a vegetative buffer that's sufficient. However, we did require some plantings to the northwest side because there's a single-family dwelling there. So there are additional plantings that staff requested and is requiring as part of this approval. Just a few things to keep in mind. Ground-mounted solar energy facilities cannot exceed a height of 20 feet. These will not. Lighting must be limited, and it will be. And just in general, the board can approve, can expand, waive, or modify these conditions and can make suggestions to that. So you have some ability to change these, of course. I do want to point out that there is a condition that is incorrect, and I'd like to correct that. Number 7 talks about parking, and that staff's recommending that condition be removed. That was part of the previous condition. So we're asking you to consider conditions 1 through 6. So in your motion, staff would ask you to amend the conditions to include 1 through 6 in your approval. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that we still do need to require and will require all agencies to sign the site plan. We do not have VDOT approval on this, but we didn't want to hold this up. So we wanted to be mindful of what we talked about at the last meeting in terms of VDOT, but I wanted to let you know VDOT has not approved this. They are asking the engineer who's here tonight to provide more information, but we think that could happen soon. So we wanted to ask you to consider it and approve it conditionally like we've done in the past to continue moving this forward. So I wanted to point that out as well. With solar panels, again, this is relatively new for us, but we have requirement for a decommissioning surety to be put in place, and that will be required in this case before permits are issued. And I'm going to bring that to your attention as well. So that was something that was part of the ordinance and will be required with this approval process. Any questions for staff? And again, Brian Peters with Solar America is here to provide you a presentation.
Thanks, Ms. Brian. I do have one question when you touched on it. I'm only asking because another county in Virginia, their planning director called me and asked me. So what is, just briefly explain to me what we do with these batteries once they're worn out, the energy is depleted, whatever happens to them, they're no longer any good. How do we dispose of them?
Ma'am, if it's okay, I'd like to defer that to Brian Peters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any questions of Mr. Brian? Ms. Peters, could you come forward, please?
Good evening. Name's Ryan Peters with Seoul America Energy, the environmental engineer. It's good to see you all again. I guess it's been about 2 months when I came and spoke about the ordinance. I do have a quick presentation, and I say quick, I will try to get through it as quick as possible. I know it's a lot of information, but also know this is since this is the first solar farm here. Mr. Pugh, I know you saw this during the planning commission. I tried to shorten it, but it went a little long. All right. Just a little brief history of Seoul America. We're a solar development company that's been around since 2009, which in the solar industry is one of the older companies. We specialize in the development of community scale solar projects. So there is a difference between utility scale, which are 10 megawatts and greater. They require a lot more design considerations. They impact a lot more land. We specialize in projects under 10 megawatts. We've constructed and operated 100 plus solar projects throughout the eastern half of the United States. We've got some experience in this, and our mission is to help America drive towards an energy independent country through domestic renewable energy, specifically solar. So the question is, why are we here in Amherst County? In early 2020, APCO put out a RFP for solar energy development in its service territory, which Amherst is. Seoul America began searching for sites that are suitable for solar development in APCO's territory, which we'll touch base on what those requirements are in just a minute. Once suitable sites were found and leases to the landowners were finalized, preliminary project design began. So again, finding those suitable sites and then reaching out to those landowners and finding landowners that wanted to work with us. And then the proposed site was submitted to APCO for their review. They reviewed it, said it looked feasible, and kind of go about get the permits and see how this moves along. So that's why we're here. Again, community scale solar projects, less than 10 megawatts in size. So it's typically less than about 100 acres of solar. The energy produced by the solar farm ties directly into the local utilities grid. That's another key point. For utility scale, you're building your own substation. For these projects, we're tying into the existing three-phase lines, so we got to find those three-phase lines within the county. How these projects help your community, local economic activity during the construction and long-term maintenance. So typically construction's about 6 to 8 months. And 6 to 8 months, so we're having contractors here, we're having people staying in local hotels and eating at local restaurants. There's stability to the local power grid, supporting energy independence, and also increasing pollinator-friendly habitats. Quick rundown on how solar works. This is a very general breakdown, and basically you have light hitting the solar PV panel. It's collecting those electrons. That is direct current that is running to an inverter, which runs to a transformer. And this is about the size of the inverter and the transformer that you'll see on site. And that converts it to power that can go to the distribution line.